Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're having a good weekend. Welcome to the Sunday video. So originally we planned on doing packing serviceable wheel bearings on the Mazda. A couple different things happened. If I could have more time, that's one thing I would love to have. There's not enough time in the day to do everything. So we're out in my parents' garage and we're working on the little diesel Kubota. So the wheel bearing, I ran out of grease, so I'm gonna have to go get some more of that, and hopefully we'll get some of that taken care of in Monday's video. We're still gonna show you how to pack your wheel bearings and all that stuff, just in case you wanna do it yourself. But we got a couple different things going on with the little diesel garden tractor here. So we're gonna go over kind of what we're doing and we'll get right into it. Alright, so basically the tractor was having some steering issues and my dad actually rebuilt the rack on it. So we're just going to kind of show you what exactly was done and then what the issue continued to be. Alright, so what'd you do?
Well, basically this hydraulic ram down here, it's hydraulic steering on the Kubota BX1500. There's an O-ring in the middle of it that gets pushed back and forth. The O-ring wears out over time. I got 950 hours on this tractor and this is the second time I replaced the O-ring.
So basically the O-ring's in the center and then it allows fluid to go to either side to turn the wheels.
Well, the fluid pushes the center back and forth and there's this O-ring seal on. There's like a collar in the middle of the cylinder that pushes back and forth from side to side. The O-ring tends to leak over time and hydraulic fluid seeps past it, so
now pressure can build up.
Right, well, the hydraulic pressure seeps past the O-ring and you end up turning the steering wheel 3 or 4 times to turn. Tractor starts to wander side to side. It's hard to keep it going in a straight line.
Sure.
So that seal needs to be replaced in order to restore the steering.
Sure. So basically what happened was he replaced those seals inside the gear and it still is having the same issue. If you jerk the wheel a little bit, then it seems to kind of want to steer, but if you try to turn really slow, it just doesn't really do much of anything. So he asked me kind of what I thought about it, and I don't work on diesels. This isn't like something that I normally am used to working on, so I'm not an expert on diesel utility equipment by any means. But to me, you need to bleed the system when you're done. So this whole thing, the fluid for the hydrostatic and the steering and all of it's one unit. So you add fluid in the back of the tractor. Show you where we add it. So you add fluid under the seat here. Lost a wrench. But you add the fluid all to one unit. So it's not like there's a separate power steering reservoir like on a vehicle. So my idea was that we try to bleed the system because I'm sure there's a ton of air in there after we had the steering gear off and rebuilt the seals and everything and put fluid in, because like on a car you do that, you have the steering system open, a brake system open, you get air in there and nothing's going to perform like it should. So I said we probably need to try to bleed it. That being said, the whole thing is one unit, so it's not like on a car where the opening for the power steering pump reservoir is the highest point on the car. So that's the easiest way to get the air out when you do a steering gear or a pressure return line or anything like that on a gasoline commuter vehicle. This isn't like that. This doesn't have a separate reservoir. The whole thing is run off of one hydraulic system. So I took a look. So you take a look in here and I took the control panel off and the throttle cable and all that stuff apart so that we could get at these two lines right here. So both these lines run up from the steering wheel. They go down and they go right to the gear down here. So my thought was we crack these lines and bleed the air out, and then we jacked it up and I'd turn the wheel back and forth and get air to spurt out of there, and that did work. We got some air out, but nothing really changed. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this system, so maybe somebody that's watching knows a little more than I do, but we did that. There was still air in it, so I called my buddy who's a diesel mechanic, and he said that you should also try to bleed it down here by the rack. And the crank pulley's kind of in the way, so it was kind of a pain in the butt, but we bled these two and nothing different happened again. It was the same scenario. We got a lot of air to come out of it, but it didn't seem like it really changed much. So I was sitting at home thinking about it last night, and I kind of thought, well, air is going to go to the highest point, and I bled up by the steering wheel first, and then we did down by the rack. So I think there could still be some air trapped in there, and we should do it in the reverse order. So what we're going to try to do is jack the front of the tractor up again, and we're going to try to bleed the bottom first and then bleed the top and see if that changes anything. So I'm going to set up and we're going to get going. We're going to get rolling on that. We're going to see if we have any success. So like I said, basically what we're going to do is we're going to crack those lines down at the rack first, turn the wheel back and forth. I like to do it with the wheels off the ground, same with vehicles, just because then you have less resistance on the wheels, easier to turn, doesn't wear out the tires at all, and Once we do that, we're going to try to get as much air out of that as we can. We'll check our fluid level, and then we're going to do the same thing up by the steering wheel, because the air hopefully should be traveling upwards, and hopefully that's our issue, is we got some air trapped in there still. So we're going to get going on that, and then we'll let you know what happens. So we bled both those lines, and we really still have no change. So essentially, if I can get this here, see if you guys can hear this. To me, it sounds like there's still air in the system. So there's two other lines on there that run from the main reservoir in the back of the tractor up to this steering gear here. Let me see, up to the steering here. See if I can get these lines. So you can see that there's actually 4 lines. These two go to the steering on the tractor, and these two go to the pump, which is in the back of the tractor. So my thought is that these all go into the same place up here, which is where our air noise is coming from. So I think maybe we have to try to bleed these 2 lines as well. Even though this part wasn't open, all 4 of them go into the same thing, so we're gonna try to bleed that, I think. You'd help if you had thumbs, wouldn't you? Yeah, get out of there. Get out of here. So we tried bleeding those lines out a little bit more. Obviously we have the control panel off. Got the throttle just so it'll run. It didn't seem to make a whole lot of a difference, so we're just going to go drive it, I think, before we put it all back together and see if it feels any different. So the steering feels a little bit better. I think at this point the one thing we can really try to do is just go drive the thing and see if it feels any better. At least then, if it feels better than it did before, it doesn't wander quite as much, not as much play, we know that we're on the right track and we can keep trying to get air out of it. I can't imagine that there'd be that much air in this system, and it's just a simple hydraulic system, so I really don't know if it hasn't improved what else the problem could be, and we'll probably have to do a little more research. But I think we're just going to go drive it and kind of see what we got going on, see if it's improved at all. Other than that, guys, thanks for joining us on this Sunday video. Like I said, I'm not a diesel mechanic, so I'm just kind of going off the top of my head, just kind of what makes sense. So maybe some of you know more about it than I do and could lend a hand. Anyway, thanks for watching this Sunday video. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you thought down in the comments down below. We upload every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. See you tomorrow. See you next time.